you are leaving messages, a roadmap for those who are yet to be born, a roadmap of your walk, and most importantly, of the rough places and the bridges you built to cross them, and the how of so doing. And so we don't just practice and study for ourselves, we also want to return it to our communities, to the world. And most importantly, we want to reveal the truth of our human family. So yes, like facets on the crystal, our family of origin gives us a voice, a language, a culture. And also the crystal is everyone and everything. And to invite people's remembrance of this is very important. Yeah. So. And lots of people say, I've said to give them lots of things. If I don't put it in writing, they're not supposed to. Because people, in the training, there is a structure of what people do. First, they practice a number of years, like before one is tested to give the healing ceremony. There's the whole context of something growing in the sight of the community. And so if people didn't see you in the process, then they don't know. And unless I write it or say it to them, because that's how the teachings are passed. They're part of the whole, there's a whole protocol, so people are prepared. So you can have a bit of information, so you understand something about the and you sing it, and you dance it, and you invite other people to say and then do you recognize it in your heart? And when you recognize the in the heart, then there's even more skillful method that we can share. So this is one of the dances of a community of many different kinds of people. So the Aniyunmiwa teachings, they're very prescribed. They're step by step. And also the Buddhist teachings are very step by step. The Aniyunmiwa is more about being seen in the community and being present and understanding like the protocols, or like, and you don't know unless you're there. So if you're there, then you know if someone is making a prayer, you wouldn't say hey, something to them or whatever. You would wait. Yet in another place, you might not know it was a prayer. So there's this whole dance of association that is, I think, how our culture has been preserved, even though languages were forbidden. We weren't permitted to speak our language, so teachings were hidden in the fireplace, so to speak, in the kitchen. And so what you were not able to say out loud, you shared and said when it was time for meals, and placing information in the fireplace or in the food telling people what the food means, where it comes from, the story that goes with it, like strawberries. It is about dichotomy and resolution. It's about did you hear the story about strawberries and why we always have strawberry preserves in our home? You haven't heard it? Oh, then I must tell you. So the story about strawberries is first man and first woman. The land was all beautiful and people were ready to come, and there had been different kinds of creatures, beings made before. There were people made from stone, first from mud, then stone, then wood, then human. And so first man and first woman, they were sitting on their porch in the Smokies, and they were watching the sun go down. And first man said, well, I think it's going to be a sunny day tomorrow. And she says, no, I think it's going to be rainy. Don't you see the mist around the sun? And he says, nope, it's going to be a very sunny day tomorrow. And she says, what's wrong with you, man? Can't you see it's going to rain tomorrow? And he says, woman, what's wrong with you? Don't you see that it's going to be a sunny day tomorrow? And they got very annoyed with each other. And he says, you silly woman. And she says, you silly man. And she gets so annoyed, she stomps off the porch and goes walking through the woods. Oh, that silly man, why can't he see what I saw? Oh, that silly guy, why doesn't he understand what I saw? And she's so annoyed, she doesn't even realize where she's going. She's stomping through the woods, and then she starts to cry. Oh my gosh, he doesn't care for me. This is not going to work. Oh my gosh, everything is not right. Why can't he see what I see? And her tears get more and more flowing, and more tears. And she's still wandering through the woods annoyed, and it's getting very dark. And there's no moon rising. And she's, and she realizes the ground beneath her feet does not feel familiar, nor do the trees feel familiar. And she recognizes she's lost in the forest. And he is getting concerned. Oh, that silly woman. She's causing me trouble now. Look at her. Where is she? She's lost out there. Now I have to go find her. And he's annoyed. And he's also missing her. So, how am I going to see in the dark? What's going on here? And he sees these little luminous white flowers where her tears fell. And he follows them through the woods. He follows these little white flowers that arose from her tears. And he finally finds her. And they're so happy to be rejoined. And they follow the little white flowers back to their cabin and their space, which is on a high ridge, and so they can see into a vast valley. It's quite beautiful. And, oh, I'm so sorry, husband. I don't know what upset me. I'm so sorry, wife. I don't know what upset me. And they're both very happy, and they make up. And then the next day, as the sun rises, they see those little white flowers have become strawberries. So strawberries are a fruit of reconciliation. And our family always keeps strawberry preserves in the home. Because whatever is arising as dissonance, there it is, the antidote, the energy of love and reconciliation. So that is what the story of the strawberries mean. Just a little bit more about crystals, and we'll actually since I talked so much, we'll have to set them up this afternoon after lunch. Just want to read a few words to you. This is from a crystal teaching that I gave in 1998. What I just want to remind you is that prismatic crystals are terminated by two rhombohedra. Again, we're recognizing the sacred geometry of opposite polarity. Quartz crystals are often twinned, and scepter crystals are formed when a new quartz crystal forms over and caps a previously formed prismatic crystal. Quartz crystals are rotary polar and occur as left or right-handed crystals, as determined by the spiral structure of linked silicon and oxygen tetrahedrons in the crystal. As we know, everything grows in the same spiral, the life spiral. What's crystalline structure consists of energy units which align themselves harmoniously with other subatomic particles and form repeating rows, lattices, layers, basically following the law of octaves. Crystal in general is a substance. Crystal is a name that means a substance that is organized in a structured and definite symmetrical pattern. And they're also amorphous crystals, and still their microscopic structure has a lattice and an ordered pattern to it. So because of this organized lattice structure, crystals vibrate in frequencies specific to their tuning, and that is the whole process of making friends with the crystal. And also our human body cells and even the organelles within the cells align to crystalline patterns. So we understand that appearances are vibrating at specific rates, and thus gives its atomic number, its frequency, and we speak of the science of octaves because the patterns repeat themselves at octaves, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, change. 1, 2, 3, change. And so, yeah. So when the crystal is forming, it's 1, 2, 3. You can see the chord. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it changes again and it moves into another octave, like the musical scales or the periodic table. So with this understanding, people also apply the medicine of voice sound. Some people, they've trained their voices very well, and they may modulate the environment and other people's suffering with the power of the sound of their voice. So some people talking, they can just be talking nonsense, but the sound of it is making you feel better. Yeah. Yeah, and it's about getting you engaged, so it's not just sound anymore. You're not so focused on the concepts. That is more about, feel the rhythm, feel what's happening, recognize the sound within. And it helps when the body and mind is also well trained. And that comes with regularly practicing singing, which you can tell I have not been doing. Yes, on the to-do list. Yep.
Venerable, if I may ask a question about speaking in tongues, because I noticed that grandmother Sylvia Jordan appears to use that in her healing, particularly when she's with large crowds.
Yes.
And something popped into my mind when you were saying that, in terms of how that is made in what you're talking about. And would you speak to that, where people aren't thinking of the words or something?
Well, certainly in religious ecstasy, the speaking in tongues is an expression of the sound potential unwinding, so that there's a healing of points of separation in one's own emotion and consciousness and in the environment. Because, you cannot make sense out of it. It is literally the power of the sound that is making some change. So glossomania, I think is how it's pronounced, is a way in which the human body-mind restores its balance through a type of religious ecstasy. And it helps people. Also, when she is in the arbor speaking in tongues, something happens. Yeah, and you cannot really name it. What did she say? What? It's the sound power.
I have a question about the focused sound and tone through the conch shell.
Yes.
And when you were talking about the organ and the capacity of the organ to reach into vast space, it made me think of the conch shell.
Oh yes, the sound that wakes them up. And many cultures, the conch shell is the sound that calls people back. Also, there's a sheep's horn with a spiral that wakes people up, because the spiraling of the sound basically unwinds one's forgetfulness that we are related, and appearances are vibration, and that we are part of this field of form. And then with exploration and motivation, one wants to see more clearly, well, what is this purpose? How am I here? Why am I here? And what does one do with this opportunity? And we know that as the Four Noble Truths, basically, the things that turn one's mind to the Dharma. So the sounds wake us up that there's more going on here. And it's usually suffering that sets people on the path to unraveling confusion, or the recognition of suffering. And so in many American cultures, the conch shell calls people to ceremony. And also in Tibetan culture, the conch shell calls people, especially when making offerings. And the spiraling energy of the air through the conch, it resonates with the pulse of the earth. And it literally unwinds. And these sounds actually vibrate. There are 5 specific points in the brain that resonate with these basic sounds. And that, interestingly enough, it is the Japanese language that most emphasizes those sounds in its language structure and syntax as a living language. Let us contemplate the significance of sound, the spiral of the conch, the life force spiral, and the recognizing the sound within us by just observing rainbow torus rings, cascading waves, observing third eye, penetrating inside, spiraling tube, so it is one torus ring inside another, observing the heart. May the words and the thoughts shared today come forth as ever more skillful methods, revealing the wisdom light in everyone and pathways of reconciliation throughout family, clans, nations, the world. Ywahoo. So we'll reconvene at 3, and at that time we'll set up, you choose the particular crystal you want to place in the array of the ones you have with you, and we'll create some crystal arrays. It only if someone will stay with them and will meditate through the night. If you're willing to set a schedule of people meditating through the night, then yes, because it is very strong and it needs people's presence and guidance. Uh-huh.
I have a fire going,
Uh-huh.
and if they wanted, I'm tending the fire outside.
Uh-huh.
I have my buffalo robe down, so
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you'd like to do it around the fire while I'm tending it.
It's better for us to do it here.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have the right configuration. Yeah. And thank you for the offer. Yes. Okay. This goes here. And people can visit and meditate over there. So the question was asked, will people meditate through the night? Or shall we leave crystals here through the night when we set it up? And I said only if people would make commitments that different folks, you'd have people meditating through the night. Because otherwise they can get very wild, and so good for people to consider that. So if you want to make a circle of people meditating through the night, then we'll leave them set up.
Okay to do shifts or everybody else?
Oh, you can do shifts, yes, that's the ideal, to do shifts. Yeah, like keeping the night watch.
Can we use the crystal that just called to us there, but we haven't had a chance to properly open it with the moon and the...
Yes.
Because this is really...
You don't use, you invite.
I'm fine,
Yeah.
fine. That's what I... Thank you.
Idea that they are people.
To invite it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Because if you use the crystal, you'll be used.
You know, I'm into invite.
Thank you all.
My crystal friend has just been wonderful. We've been getting to know each other, but without going through that time period. So
Okay.
I wanted to be sure that was okay.
Yes, it is.
It invited me.
Yes, it's inviting you. This is good. We'll see you later.
Thank you. A wonderful lunch.
Thank you.
Andy?
You,
I could probably do an hour at a time. What do you think?
an hour at a time? Should be easy.